Hi everyone, welcome to our podcast, Workplace Friends. I'm Kelsey.
Hey everyone, I'm Penny, and this week we're going to tackle the questions that were asked in the episode that Kelsey and I filmed. You can't ask that. We're probably going to have different answers than what we did when we filmed it, since it was over almost 2 years ago now. So if you want to know what we said back then, or if our answers changed, we will have a link to the episode in the description box below. But other than that, I think we are just going to get into it. And then I'm going to find the first question. Oh, yeah, I remember this. The first question. I think I still have the same reaction when I read it for the first time.
Yeah, I'm
what's wrong with your face?
And I think you know what? And I think you said it the exact same way.
It's the only way I can spit that question out without without cringing.
Oh, I know.
I don't know if my answer really changed in the 2 years since we filmed that episode. I would still say nothing. I don't think yes, I don't look atypical. Obviously, I have a facial difference. That's very much apparent to me. Thank you for pointing it out, society. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything wrong specifically with my face. I look different from the norm. That doesn't mean legitimately anything. It didn't mean anything to me when I was younger. Doesn't mean anything to me now that I'm older. There's nothing wrong with my face, unless I have like something on my face. Do I have anything on my face? No. I was eating ice cream earlier, so. But yeah, no, I have nothing wrong with my face. So I don't know. You?
Yeah, I don't think my answer has changed either. I would still say, because I legitimately have to ask that question.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Legitimately, that I thought that, and my answer, I mean, well, okay. If you ask me that question, I'm not gonna answer you. So whatever. But my answer is still saying like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like, what's wrong with you that you feel the need to ask that? And I don't know, like, who gets to determine what like normal is anyway. So no. So what's wrong with your face? Nothing except the fact that I'm looking at you right now and like you have zero right to ask me that question. So
I kind of like, I think now when I get the question the next time out in public, because that's inevitable.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to ask them, why are you asking? I think I want them to verbalize what they're thinking in their head, and hopefully it's a learning experience for them to realize how irrelevant that question is.
Right.
Because it's not like I know we talked about it probably in previous episodes, but it's not a question you have a right to ask anybody.
Exactly, that's what I mean. And I think like maybe okay, so if you did say that, like, why are you asking? What do you mean by that? If they say like, oh, I noticed that you look different. Okay, well, fine.
I could use that as a launching point. I think at that point then I would probably say that's not the best approach.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe,
but if they then in turn said, well, you look whatever, insert rude comment here, then I would answer it the same way as I answer it now, which is absolutely nothing and just keep walking. Like I don't have time for that.
Exactly. Like I don't have time. I don't have time for you. Yeah.
I'm out in public because I need to be. I got things to do. Like, I don't know why you're wasting my time.
Don't waste my time. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. So I think the second question is probably going to prompt a little bit more discussion. I know, if I remember correctly, most of the questions, guys, when we were answering them in studio when we were filming it, our question or our answer, were quite involved normally, and we got passionate about some. We had discussions about some. Mm-hmm. Obviously, for time and because we weren't the only ones featured in the episode, editing plays a huge role. So you only got snippets of everybody's answers. So you're probably going to get more out of us in this context because this is our show, not anybody else's. So
we can talk for as long as we want.
Exactly. So the second question is, are you disabled? Not to sound like somebody on repeat. I think, again, this is going to be a similar answer for me, is the facial difference itself is not what I feel makes me disabled. It does cause other issues that present barriers for me that society doesn't check, which is visually impaired, so I'm legally not able to drive. I have glasses, so I'm wearing corrective lenses that are quite strong, and I have bifocals to help me see things even more clearly. I've recently got a new pair of glasses specifically for work so that it makes my computer screen bigger. So I'm definitely visually impaired. I'm also hard of hearing, which is as a direct result of my facial difference, both from the facial difference itself and from corrective surgery or reconstructive surgery that was attempted that failed. So hard of hearing, visually impaired. And then I talked about, in I think our second episode, and I don't know if this is an experience of anybody else with my conditions, is that I have tumors, one on my eye, so a cyst that causes problems, and I also have a brain tumor that caused the malformation of the connective thing between the two hemispheres. So that causes me to fall down, be clumsy, that sort of thing. So those types of things would technically, under the Canadian Charter of Human Rights or whatever it is that we have, I don't know, I'm disabled. But I don't necessarily see myself as disabled, and I know that's a hot topic in the disability world. And I know there's nothing wrong with the word disabled, and I should own it, and blah blah blah. But right now in my life, I don't see myself as disabled. Or, yeah, so I don't know. It's a complex, like day by day, certain things. But as I'm answering this question tonight, the answer is no. Kind of caveats. Yeah.
I also would say no. And it's not because I take offense to the word disabled. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with using it. There's nothing wrong with identifying as disabled. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I think that it's not like my facial difference doesn't make me disabled. It's society, I'd say, that makes me that way. It's it's the perceptions and assumptions and everything else that society puts on people like me that make us just so
Less than.
selfish. Yeah, and like less, like value less and stuff like that. And I think that um because I don't like I don't see myself as um disabled, and I don't see my facial difference like as a disabling feature, but it is the term disability is society and what society thinks about us and the assumptions and the stigma and stuff like that. So do I think I'm disabled? No, not necessarily. Am I ashamed of the word disabled? Also, no. I mean, I guess it's just not how I see myself. But if someone, if I'm filling out like a form or something for school, and if the question is like, do you have a disability? Well, then technically yes, technically, but I don't see myself that way. So I mean, I think it's a double.
It's situational, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like I mean
It's nuanced. I don't think there's, as you can tell by our answers, there's not one clear.
there's not. Well, I mean, could I ever get a job as like a telemarketer? Probably not. So am I disabled that way? Maybe, but just in like day to day life, that's not um how I see myself. So yeah. So I'd say no. Well,
Yeah,
yes and no. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna say I don't know. It's a tough question.
yeah, it's yeah. Like I said, I say no, but there's caveats to that.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if
Right.
I'm in a situation where I'm in a room with a lot of noise, then both my invisible disabilities, which I haven't really talked about, and my visible or my hearing impairment or I'm hard of hearing. So situationally, I would be disabled because I can't participate in normative activities without assistance of some kind, which again, not all disabilities require assistance. Guys, this is such a nuanced thing.
Everyone has just
We are only talking for us, ourselves at this moment.
personally.
Kelsey's talking for herself. I'm talking for myself.
Yeah.
Um, when we agree, we talk for each other. Please don't take this as we are talking about the disability spectrum or community as a whole. Everybody's going to answer the question differently and may answer the question differently on different days or different hours. So it's not going to be a one size fits all. And I think that's probably a lot of these questions are going to be very nuanced, which is why we're going through them, because obviously we want to have those discussions with each other and let you guys, whatever. But yeah, do you have anything to add to that, or do you want we go on
No,
to the
I
next?
think so. I don't think so. I just think that yeah, again, like those personal our personal views and everyone sees it different. So
Exactly. All right. So the next question: why don't you get surgery?
I have.
Yeah. So for me, this question actually is changing from when I answered it in 2018. I think in 2018 we answered more a lot about what surgeries we had already had, not necessarily why don't we get more. My answer in 2018, which again I won't rehash, was pretty much no. Unfortunately, I've uh, uh, that's changing. Unfortunately, I'm unfortunately getting older, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I only have one jaw joint. So I don't have anything over here. I only have this one. As you get older, you get arthritis, you get other things. I can't open my mouth very wide to the point where I'm having trouble getting regular dental care, which adds a whole host of other problems. So I am going to explore surgery. So I do see the second oral surgeon on Tuesday, actually, of this coming week, where we'll talk. Where I'm going to assume we're going to talk about if one, it's an option, two, what that looks like. Because I've had multiple attempts at reconstruction, both of which have failed miserably, I have been told that I am, well, complex, that I am at high risk, that all of the negatives that you hear doctors say is pretty much what I've heard in the past. And I joke that most doctors won't touch me with a 10-foot pole just because I'm not a straightforward bone graft case. Like a lot of people with my condition, they'll get a bone graft when they're young, just after they finish growing. And for the most part, it works. And it doesn't, again, none of these surgeries for us with facial differences are generally meant to correct the way we look. That's never and should never be the goal of surgery, unless that person wants it. If they want it cosmetic for their own mental health or for their own well-being, more power to them. Surgery for me has always been about function. Okay. I can't open my mouth very wide. I can't chew food very well. I can't get dental care that is appropriate. All of these are leading me now in 2020 to look at possibility of getting reconstructive surgery. And that scares me. It's not something that I wanted to do at all. It's bottom of my list of things I ever wanted to go through again. But yeah, why don't you get surgery? Because it's scary AF. It's problematic. It's not necessarily always a solution. So, yeah.
And I feel like unless it's a functional surgery, I don't feel like I have to get surgery in order to look like normal. That's not something that anyone should ever feel like they have to do. And all of the surgeries that I've had have been functional, and they've been for function, not necessarily cosmetic. And the only cosmetic surgery I had was like when I got the what they call the smile surgery. So I put that, like before I had that surgery, I had zero facial movements. So like nothing. So yeah, it helped with I can like kind of smile now, but it also helps with other things like speech and lip closure and stuff like that. So it was functional as well. So, but I don't feel like I have to get surgery in order to look, like I said, normal. Like I'm 29 years old. Like I have come to terms with this is me, and like I'm Lama. So so I think that I so why don't you get surgery? I have many times, but I don't feel that I have to if it's not functional. I might have a surgery coming up on my eye, because my just my right eye connects out a lot at the time. So it will be like just trying to straighten my eyes. Um, not not just for cosmetic reasons, because I don't like when I take a photo of myself, it looks like my eye is going back, like whatever. But it's for vision and to hopefully help my vision, my eyes work together, whatever. So that's the only other sort of thing that I have on the horizon, and quite possibly might be my last one ever. Um, so, so why don't you get surgery? Well, I have. This is me after like probably 20 surgeries. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
why would you want surgery? Like nobody,
no one.
like I get people who would get it done cosmetically, I guess. Like even that, I'm just like I don't know why you'd put yourself through that. 'Cause
I hate surgery.
surgery is not fun. Like
Hate it. I hate it.
it's not fun.
No, I hate it.
Like,
Hate.
I have enough anxiety without going through that.
Well,
So
yeah, I hate it.
all right. So question 5 is it a romance killer?
Well,
I kind of want to know the person who asked that question, because that says more about the person asking it. I don't know. Like, it's since the episode aired, I have gone on a date. So I've been on an official date. Yay! Once in my life. But I don't know how to answer that question. Like, it's going to be one of those individual things again.
Mm-hmm.
I know people who have facial differences and they're happily married. They have been for a very long time, or they've been out on dates or whatever, and it's clearly not a romance killer. I haven't had those experiences. I didn't have those experiences in high school. I didn't have those experiences in the limited time I was in university. And I certainly haven't had it for 99% of my adult life. Mm-hmm. I want to think that it's not the facial difference or my personality. Like, I don't know which one I'm okay with it being a romance killer. But I know that I've tried online dating, and it is not something that I will ever do ever again in my life, because that was the most demeaning thing I've ever put myself through willingly. I got comments that were not okay, and none that I will repeat here. And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, online dating is, everybody gets that. It's not something that anybody should have to go through. It shouldn't be a comment. And the comments that I were getting were not comments that anybody else would have gotten. And it was directly because of the way that I look. So I will rather stay single my entire life than willingly put myself through that again. Mm-hmm. That's not to say there aren't great men out there who want to be a part of my life for, given everything that I have outside of this and all of that. I don't have the time or the mental energy to go out on dates or any of that. I've got a lot of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So I don't have that. And I'm a really independent person. I don't know. I don't know. All right, I'm done. I got nothing.
I mean, if it's a romance killer, then that says more about the person than me. So, you know what? Whatever. If it is, if it is a romance killer, then I don't really want to be part of that person's life anyway. If you judge someone solely based on appearance, like I don't really want to know you anyway. So I like don't really care if it's a romance killer or not because that says more about you than it does about me. So check yourself. But anyway, I am not bitter at all. I think that I've done online dating too, and not fantastic experiences. And I will not go into this, but one of the guys that I not really got involved with, but that I talked to for way too long, he was a drug addict, and um, and I knew this kind of, but I still went. Anyway, it's a long story. I'm not getting into that, but so be careful who you talk to online. But
Pro tip.
yeah, strange sensation. It's a thing. I at this point in my life, I don't really care if I'm single forever, whatever. Then I can live my own life. And like you said, I'm an independent person anyway. I don't want someone to like tie me down, kind of thing. Like I want to be able to do what I want, like moving up to Victoria, jumping on a plane to New York, like stuff like that. I don't want anyone to like hold me back or whatever. But I mean, having said that, I think that it would be nice, maybe, to have like companionship,
Yeah.
someone to talk to and hang out with and travel with and just sit on the couch and
Watch movies and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, but
Same.
I mean, to be honest, I'm gonna have a dog, cause I like dogs more than people. So I'm gonna just get a dog and hang out with my dog and like have company that way. I don't. I know a lot of people put way too much. They put too much of um their self worth into another person, and I don't get that. I guess because I never had like you said, I never had the experiences of dating and whatever in high school or whatever. Like that just wasn't something that ever happened. So
Right.
so now I think I'm like, you know what? Like I don't really care. I don't need that. I'm not missing out on anything.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
I am. I don't know. I've never had it. So
It's
um
hard because I'm sure you've had friends that have had breakups and you're like, dang, why am I going through that? But the flip side to that is seeing two people in love and happy and just engaged and stuff like that. And I go back and forth. There's days I'm like, I really, really want that. And then there's
yeah.
days where I'm like, no, I'm good. Like,
Well, yeah, I like them. Yeah, and I mean, my sister. Well, both of my sisters. They're both married. One of my sister has twins. Um, and so not that I ever want kids, because I 0% of me ever wants kids. But I look at like their family, and just like it's like comfortable, I guess, to have a family and
yeah,
to have people who are yours, who you fall back on and rely on and whatever. But do I need that? No. whoever.
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't,
Exactly. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't matter. But like, do I need it in my life? No. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, is it a romance killer? I don't really. If it is, I don't want to know you. So
yeah, I think that's just a flawed question. Like, it's just.
I'm hurt. Yeah.
I really just want to know what the justification to the ask that question.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is a two-parter. So I will ask it in two parts because I think that'll make the most sense.
Okay.
So the first part of question 6 is, what names did you get called? It's past tense, assuming we don't get to.
That's hilarious.
Which I didn't realize until now. But
yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's not I don't know. It's, I will be honest. Part of your brain when you're younger is to block out traumatic things. So I will say that majority of my childhood is lost behind a wall, that I don't have a lot of memories. The ones that I do remember, it was a lot of monster, you're ugly. It wasn't so much for me the name calling as it was my peers flat out ignoring me, flat out, literally, well, I guess ignoring, but literally pretending I didn't exist and not including me in any activities, in play on the recess on the playground and all of that. And it was also more about them using their hands to try to manipulate their face to look like mine. That was more of what was happening on the school playground. For me, bullying and name calling was a constant, I think, and I think that's why I don't remember a lot of it. So I'm sure there's a lot more that my brain's like, no, we're just going to protect you from that. You don't need to know that anymore. And the bullying was never physical unless it was gym class. And then they seemed to have an excuse. And that's when they would be more rough. So if they were playing ball, hockey, or whatever, then they would intentionally hit me with the stick or the ball or push me or anything that gave them an excuse to be physical without getting in trouble because it was gym class. But when I'm out now, because I'm hard of hearing, I don't necessarily hear what they're saying. I know that they are saying things because you can read the body language. It's not hard to see that kids or adults or whoever is pointing at you or snickering or it's not hard to see. Like I may be visually impaired, but I'm not fully blind, so I can see things. So I don't have any grand list of specific things that I was called. I don't know if that's the same for you.
Yeah, I don't really have a list of like names either. I think it was more, yeah, like it was more like things like hand gestures and stuff like that. But also I I think I talked about this. I grew up in a small town, and so I went to school from kindergarten to grade 8 with the same people mostly. So, so it was never like a new thing. Like I was just kind of like, oh, that's Kelsey kind of thing. Like it was never like, and I like I'm sure that I did. I know I did get like people mocking my speech or stuff like that. But other than that, it wasn't it wasn't like a constant thing. It was kind of a, I'd say like a one-off. And well, at least that I remember now. And I mean, I had friends, like I went to birthday parties, probably because they had to invite the whole class, but whatever. Like, I went to birthday parties. I had, like I had close friends.
Good.
People like invited me to their house, but like it wasn't like I don't remember it being really um awful until high
Good. That's
school.
fun.
I mean, until high school, and then I'm just actually it started in grade 9. I just like completely, like you said, like invisible, and like just people pretended that I kind of wasn't there. I think so. Um, so that high school was definitely not fun, but I think my like elementary school, middle school years were fun. Like
Good. I'm
what
glad. Yeah.
ish, I
I
guess.
didn't. I didn't have that experience. I didn't get invited to parties and.
I mean, I
Uh,
didn't like in high school, so I didn't go to like any
oh yeah, at
school
the high
party, like
school.
nothing. But um,
High
I
school was only slightly better for me than the rest of the
think,
grade. But fairly better.
yeah, and that's just like that's the opposite experience. Like I look back at my school years and I'm like, oh, like everything was okay up until like grade 9, and then I mean in grade 12, that's when I met um my like closest friend now, and so whatever. But like from grade 9 to the middle of grade 12, it just sucked. So
Yeah, I was like, I had one friend, and well, not one friend. There was like a group of, I guess we would call us like the outcasts. We were the ones that nobody cared about, like nobody, whatever. So I just kind of gravitated and just sat with them for some time. Not a lot. I think that was probably after my sister left high school. So I would have probably been in grade 11 or, yeah, grade 11 or 12. Um, and yeah, I didn't hang out with anybody and stuff. So yeah, so that kind of, I guess we may have kind of answered the second part of the. All right, so I guess the second part of this question is: are kids the cruelest? That hasn't changed since late 2018 when I
no.
answered this. The answer is yes.
Yes,
The
yeah, I
kids
say yes.
are absolutely, emphatically the
Yeah.
cruelest. Part of that is probably because kids don't necessarily have a filter. Really young kids, they haven't tactfully learned how to say certain things. So I'm not always. Uh, Depends on how I'm feeling in the day. Depends on how old the child is. That sort of thing. Really, really young kids, they get a pass from me. I'm not cruel. Like whatever. But kids who I feel old enough to have learned about differences, they don't get a pass from me, and I hold both the child and the parent responsible because at some point your child needs to not. They would have learned not to be little a-holes, and if you didn't teach them that, then that's on you as well. But
Awesome.
kids are absolutely the cruelest.
100%. I have nothing to add to that, but I do not enjoy. I don't like. I don't like kids. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't like other people's kids. I like my friends' kids, and that's it. Like,
That's the same. And I think that. I mean, I think it's because I have experienced way too much, too many, basically assaults. That's what it feels like. It feels like you're getting assaulted. And,
Yeah.
I mean, if the kid is like 2 or something, it's like,
Exactly. Like if they're looking at me or staring,
yeah,
I
it's
can see
like,
the gears turning. I'm like, whatever. It's like,
yeah, yeah, I mean, whatever. But if the kid is like older, I'd say older than 5, yeah, no, they should know better, and it's also like on the parents as well. I remember I was at work. I used to work in customer service, which I never want to do ever again. Um, and I was helping this family, and this kid who was probably like, I'd say at least 5, at least. She just kept saying, she was like, "You look creepy, you look creepy," and like repeatedly. And the parents did 0 things. They said nothing. I think they were probably like embarrassed or whatever, but
that's not an excuse.
no,
Yeah, I
but
used to work at Tim Hortons, and for those outside of Canada or parts of the U.S., Tim Hortons is our major national coffee.
like Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, like Dunkin' Donuts, or I don't know what other stores. Yeah. So I used to work there, and it was definitely a challenge some days to get through my day without wanting to throw something at somebody. Both from kids and adults. Don't get me wrong, adults had had more than my fair share of adults being cruel. But yeah, kids are definitely the cruelest. So
I'm right.
hands down, unfortunately. All right, question 7 is, so we got one other question after this, guys. Again, I'm gonna pause here. If you guys have questions for us that aren't these questions, we will answer them. I don't want you to feel like the way that we're reacting to these questions is we're not open to answering questions, and don't worry about being tactful or whatnot. Just ask the question that you truly have, and we will never, unless you give permission, we wouldn't say your name on here or anything like that. We just ask the question and answer it as we're doing now. So if we get enough questions, we'll do this again.
Yeah.
So question 7 is, do people pity you? Here's another one where the answer really hasn't changed. The answer is yeah, unfortunately. People pity. I kind of want to say what they don't understand, but I don't even know if that's the sentiment I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah.
They pity.
Like they look down on, kind of. I don't know. I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, like they are happy that they don't look like what we look like. They they unfortunately, society is a very forward facing, you gotta look pretty, you gotta look like whatever. As much as people are like, oh, diversity and all this other crap, at the end of the day, that's not what sells magazines. That's not what sells a product in advertising, a movie, anything like that. So unfortunately, when you don't look like that, people are very happy that they don't look like you, and thus they pity you because they project how they think they would feel if they were us. So I don't know how else to put that.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't really have anything else to add, but I think that yeah, people do pity because they, I think, assume that we are not as like intelligent, or we can't be like independent. And so I'm like, oh, like, I'm so sorry you have to deal with that. And it's like, yeah, please don't, please don't be sorry. Like, I don't, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I remember I used to work at Walmart, and I remember when this lady, um, she came over to me, and she like put out my arm, and she was like, "I'm praying for you," and I'm like,
Oh my God.
"What?" I was so just like dumbfounded. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I'll be praying for you. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Like, I wouldn't
Okay.
expect that to.
Yeah,
Like,
that will help me. Yeah, like it was
yeah,
totally
that'll help.
so condescending, and just like I'm like, who does
Uh,
that? So
I can't
so
even.
I know. So do people pity us? Yes, they should do.
As you were talking, I realized I did forget a question. So this actually transitions nicely. So a question I forgot to ask was, do you ever feel pretty? Um, I'm going to answer honestly. I think I censored myself a bit back in 2018 because I didn't necessarily say what I know people wanted to hear, but I also didn't fully answer honestly. So I am going to answer it pretty honestly today. The answer is no. I don't feel pretty. A lot of that, unfortunately, is my own self-esteem. A lot of that is societal expectations that I internalize. I have horrible self-esteem. I have horrible um, mental health, and there isn't, you know, I've tried their like counseling and stuff like that, but the problems that I have that I've internalized or that I have to deal with on a daily basis regarding going out in public, my facial difference and all that, there, as of yet, I haven't found a counselor or a therapist that, one, that I can afford, and two, that I click with that can understand what I'm both saying and not saying and help me kind of navigate that. um, I don't like looking in the mirror. You'll notice when if you watch this, I rarely will look at the camera or look where my picture is. um, I, I I I have to do a lot in order for me to feel pretty, and that includes dressing in clothes that I really can't afford to buy because those are the ones that fit my body well. And it's not necessarily about my face all the time, and a good chunk of it is, but a lot of it is also how I feel about my weight or how I feel about what surgery has done to certain body parts and stuff like that. Things that I don't really talk about a lot. But I don't like looking in the mirror. I don't like that one of the medications that I'm taking is making my hair thin, even though I don't care if I went bald. I'd probably prefer it because I can wear a wig, which I can't afford. Um, but I don't like how I look, both because of my facial differences and because I don't. That's probably going to be a hot take again. A lot of in the facial difference community, they're very self confident. They're very this, that, and the other thing. I wish I had that, but to be honest, 99% of the day, I'm doing my job. I'm a caregiver for my mom. I'm helping cook dinner. I'm doing a bunch of other stuff that I'm not thinking about how I look. When I look in the mirror to brush my teeth, which I don't because I don't like it, I don't. I will avoid looking at myself at all costs because I don't feel pretty, and I don't know how to change that. It's not. I get that it's a mental thing. And guys in the comment section, I'm not looking. I'm not fishing for comments here. Like I've got recently a tweet that 200 and whatever comments of them, and all of them say like, whatever, they don't stick in my head. Comments like that don't stick when you have the kind of, body dysmorphia that I have. I could hear 50,000 people 50,000 times a day telling me that I look pretty. None of it is going to get in here and do that. So yeah, so that's a pretty heavy hitting question, but that's what we're here for, and that's yeah, but that's my answer, and that's my honest answer.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I think that too often we just kind of say what other people want us, or what other people want to hear, or something that we wish was true but isn't necessarily true. So my answer is I'll say like not even sometimes. I'll say like maybe on a good day I'll get like a good photo of myself and I'll be like, oh, my hair looks good in that picture, or whatever. But do I feel pretty? No. And like people, they comment like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like they comment all the time and they're like, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so, like I don't internalize that. Because I don't believe it. So those, and I mean, I I don't know if they're being like genuine or they just feel like that's something that they should say. Like I don't know, but I don't internalize it anyway. Like I do not see myself as like pretty or anything like that. And that obviously comes down to like society and self-esteem and whatever. And like I don't know, like I look at myself in the mirror and I just feel like um I mean I guess I've come to terms with how I look when I look, but like it's still not like I still don't look in the mirror and think like, I look so good today. Like
Yeah,
never,
yeah.
never.
I try really hard, like, because society and I have taken some psychology courses, so I get the whatever behind it. But when I see pictures that my friends post and stuff like that, and I see everybody going, "Oh, you're super," I try very hard to not comment on the person's appearance.
Yeah.
I will comment on how they come across in the picture, like, "Oh, I love your sass," or "Wow, that color green looks, really suits your complexion really well," or "The lighting is really great." I will try to be very specific, encouraging, genuine, because I never want to. I'm never going to tell somebody that they're ugly, because
Yeah.
that's not right. That's not ever what I feel.
Yeah.
I'm honest. Even there's a story my friends will tell you about how honest I can be. That's funny. But I will always try to encourage somebody, especially I know if they're like on a weight loss journey or if they've had surgery of some kind. I will make sure that I'm the person that comments that is outside of their appearance.
Yeah.
So whether it's their attitude, whether it's their whatever, like the composition of the photo, I don't know. Like it's not something where I'm like, "Oh, you're beautiful," and it's not that I don't mean it, and it's not that I don't want to say it, but it's because I know that's not a constructive comment to me.
Yeah.
So I try to be the commenter I hope people are. But yeah, so
it just feels like an empty comment. Like there's some people like okay, but yeah, like if you comment like, "Oh, I love that dress, you look so good in that dress," or "I love the scenery," or whatever. Like I don't know. I just feel like yeah, I when someone tells me like, oh, you're so pretty and so beautiful, I'm like, no, I'm not. And I just, those comments don't unfortunately mean a lot. It's well intentioned, obviously, and I'm
yeah, like I don't not like it, and I
oh,
don't dismiss it. I understand that's coming from a place, and I have no doubt that person is being genuine.
yeah.
And it's not about me questioning that. It's just I don't know where to put that. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't feel pretty. I don't think I am pretty. I'm not saying that I think I'm 100% ugly. It's not that. It's just I am not okay with whatever it is on that day. But all right, so I think that will kind of go to our last question, which is, do you wish you had a different face? Again, I'm going to answer this a bit more honestly than I did when we were filming. If someone told me that I could have surgery and no downside, no recovery or whatever, like no downside, and I would look quote unquote more normal, I would probably go with that. Some of it is because a lot of my facial difference is structural and it causes me a lot of problems with eating and like whatever for that. But also because it would be really, 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 really nice and less exhausting if I could go out and not deal with people's shit. Like that is so exhausting.
Right.
So I like who I am because of my facial difference. I like the opportunities in the last few years that I have had to help others, to educate, to do all the things that I've done, and I wouldn't change those experiences. But I also wouldn't not change my face because I would be fine with a different face. Like, let's be honest, I don't think I'm pretty. I think I would be okay with a different face. So.
I am gonna answer a little differently. I'm gonna say, what's the exact question?
Do you wish you had a different face?
Okay. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that my face isn't the problem. Really, it's um if someone asked me, would you change the way you talk or would you change your speech? 100%, I would say yes. Because that is something that impacts me a lot more than just like my face. So it's more about the way that I talk, not the way that I look. So I would say yes to that, but to a different place, no. I mean, okay, it would make it easier to go out and not like face comments and stuff, I guess. But other than that, like I don't really care. It's more like my speech that really again impacts me. And I think that, and I've said this so many times, if I did not have Murray syndrome, if I did not have a difference, I would not have had a fraction of the opportunities that I've had. I wouldn't have met any of the people who are my closest friends and mentors and my family, basically. I wouldn't have met any of them. And I just feel like I wouldn't have the passion and the purpose in life that I feel like I have. Um, so yeah, I would say no personally. And just because I feel like my face isn't the biggest issue that I face at this point. So Yeah, I don't know. I just think that I'm I mean, when I say I'm happy with who I am, that sounds like super cliche, and it's not always true. But I think that I just feel like I have a passion and a purpose and an appreciation for people who are different and more compassion and stuff like that. So I just feel like if I wasn't different, if my face wasn't like this, I wouldn't have any of that. I wouldn't have any of the people in my life that I have. So, um, I you know, I gotta
That's
say no.
fair.
I gotta say no to that question.
All
Um,
right.
although
That's fair.
if someone again was like, do you want to change the way you sound? Hell yeah. 100% I would say yes. But just because that's what affects me the most. So
That's fair. All right, guys. Well, that is the answers to the questions that were asked in the episode. Definitely a lot more discussion than we were afforded, or that was aired, I should say. They afforded us all the time that we were
yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Fortunately, they just didn't air all of that, which again, editing and time and all that fun stuff. So, if there's a question that you thought of that we didn't, obviously because we were talking about specific questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to do this again. But other than that, we will see you guys next week, and I look forward to it. And I hope you all have a great week. And thanks for joining our podcast.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.